The night sky above the Aurelian capital shimmered with twin moons, their glow falling upon towers of silver stone. The court awaited the arrival of the human envoy, a gesture of peace the Aurelian rulers hoped would stabilize a fractured frontier. Whispers filled the grand hall as guards positioned themselves at each pillar. The alien princess stood near the throne, her breath steady in appearance yet frayed within. She had spent years preparing for encounters like this, but none of her lessons mentioned anything about facing ghosts from her past. The envoys of other worlds had already arrived, their banners shining, their diplomats bowing in measured patterns. Humans were late, though humans were always late, according to Aurelian expectations. Still, the princess watched the entrance with a tension she could not shake. Every diplomat she met before had been predictable. Every meeting followed the same rhythm. Yet tonight carried a strange pulse, a sense that something long buried was rising. A horn sounded across the hall. The human delegation stepped through the entrance. Their boots echoed on polished stone. Their uniforms gleamed. And at the center walked the one the princess nearly dropped her ceremonial staff upon seeing. The man was taller than she remembered, armored in dark navy plating that hugged the lines of a seasoned warrior. His hair was shorter now, his posture firmer, yet the eyes were the same calm shade that had once looked down at a terrified child in a burning forest. The princess froze. Her hands trembled, so slightly only she knew. Memories surged with no mercy. Fire, screams, smoke that stung her lungs. Heavy rubble pinning her leg. Her guards fallen. Her breath fading. And the human boy, barely more than a teen, lifting the debris with shaking arms, dragging her across the ground, carrying her past collapsing trees. He never said his name. He disappeared before her people arrived. No adult believed her tale. No one accepted that a human child had crossed the border and saved an Aurelian royal. It was an event dismissed as dream or delirium. Yet here he stood. A guard leaned toward her and whispered with confusion. She did not answer. She could not. Not yet. The man bowed before the queen, offering the standard greeting. His voice stayed steady, respectful, careful in tone. He introduced himself as Rylan, representative of the Terran Alliance. The princess bit the inside of her cheek. She had tried many times throughout her life to recall the name of the boy who saved her. She never succeeded. He never told her. Yet the way he spoke made her heart twist. That calm rhythm, that soft clarity. It was the same cadence she heard as a child while fading into unconsciousness. The queen began the formal exchange with dignified ease. Rylan responded with the composed precision of a trained diplomat. The hall listened with polite interest. Only the princess felt as though the floor had vanished beneath her. When the introductions ended, Rylan finally turned toward her. He bowed lower than protocol demanded. She knew at once why. Humans bowed like that to elders, or to those they respected deeply, or to someone they once carried through fire. For a moment, she lost her voice. She struggled to form a greeting. Her throat tightened in ways she had not felt in years. She forced herself to steady her breathing and stepped forward. "Welcome to the Aurelian kingdom," she said, her tone almost stable. "Your presence honors us." He lifted his gaze. For one heartbeat, their eyes met. She saw a quiet recognition sparkle there, small yet unmistakable, as if he had been waiting for this moment. She nearly stepped back. Her pulse raced. He knew. He remembered. There was no question in his eyes. Only certainty. Rylan spoke with a softness that only she could detect. "It is an honor to stand here." That voice. Not a single doubt remained. She clenched her hands behind her cloak so none would see her tremble again. The queen invited the delegation to a banquet. The court followed in a sweeping procession. Through it all, the princess found herself glancing toward Rylan far more often than dignified conduct permitted. She tried to act as though her mind were clear. It was not. Every small gesture, every measured step he took, echoed the memory of the frantic boy who refused to leave her behind even when flames chased them. At the banquet, diplomats engaged in debate. Music filled the hall. Servants moved gracefully between tables. The princess sat near the queen, but when she tried to focus on political analysis, her gaze betrayed her. Rylan stood across the room, speaking to a cluster of officials. His tone stayed calm. His expressions remained steady. Yet now and then his attention flicked to her for a split second, as if ensuring she remained safe even here. The princess stood at last, unable to endure the weight of unanswered questions. She excused herself and stepped into a quiet corridor. The marble walls cooled her thoughts. She needed air. She needed distance. But she needed truth most of all. Footsteps approached behind her. She turned before the guard could intervene. Rylan had followed, though he kept a respectful distance. His helmet was removed, tucked under his arm. Without it he seemed more human, more familiar, more real than any memory. "Princess," he said gently, "forgive me if I intruded." "You did not," she said, though her heart said otherwise. "I wished to speak with you." He nodded once. "I thought you might." Silence hovered between them, a silence filled with a decade of questions. "You saved me," she finally whispered, "in the forest near the border, when I was a child. Was it you?" Rylan inhaled, a slow breath that carried the weight of years. "Yes." Her legs nearly gave way. She steadied herself on the wall. She wanted to ask how he reached that forest, why he risked so much, what drove him to shield a stranger. But words broke apart on her tongue. "You never told anyone," she said. "It would have caused conflict," he answered. "A human found deep within Aurelian territory. A royal found in danger. It would have led to accusations on both sides." "That is true," she said quietly. "Still, you vanished. I searched for answers. I never found them." His expression softened. "I was taken back to human space by a patrol before I could explain. They assumed I was lost. They restricted travel for years after that. I thought we would never meet again." "But we did," she said, voice barely above breath. "Yes," he replied. She stepped closer without planning it. She stared at him, trying to see the boy in the man. She saw him, in the set of his jaw, in the quiet strength in his posture, in the earnestness that had never left his eyes. "You carried me through fire," she said. "Why?" His answer came without hesitation. "Because you were a child in danger. Because I wanted you to live." The directness struck her like a pulse of light. No flowery words. No pride. Just simple truth. She swallowed. "I never thanked you." "There was no need," he said. "You survived." That was enough. "Not for me," she said. Rylan lowered his gaze for a moment. "I am glad you remember." "I remembered every day," she said. "Even when others insisted it was a story I imagined. Even when they told me no human could cross the border unnoticed. Even when I doubted my own memory. I remember you." He looked up again, and something warm flickered in his eyes. "I hoped you would." A distant chime echoed from the banquet hall. They both knew they should return. Yet neither moved. "You became a warrior," she said softly. "So did you," he replied. Her chest tightened. He knew her reputation. He must have studied her for the diplomatic mission. But something in his tone told her this was no political observation. It was acknowledgement, respect, recognition of the path she carved after surviving the ambush that almost took her life. "Rylan," she said, tasting the name she had waited years to know. "I owe you more than I can express." "You owe me nothing," he said. "I am here because it is my duty, but also because I hope to see the girl I saved, to see the life she built, to know she still walked this world." Emotion swelled in her chest, sudden, overwhelming. She turned slightly before it showed too much on her face. "You have seen her," she whispered, "though she is not a girl anymore." "No," he said, and there was admiration in his tone now. "She is far more." Before she could respond, the corridor trembled. Alarms wailed. Guards rushed forward. An attack. Not from outside the palace, but from within. Rebels who opposed human peace talks burst from hidden compartments. Blades glimmered. Energy bolts streaked across the air. The princess jerked back as a strike flew toward her. Rylan moved first. He seized a fallen guard's shield and blocked the blast. The sound echoed through the hall. His stance shifted with fluid precision. He stepped in front of her. His voice turned sharper. "Stay behind me." Memories crashed in her mind. The forest. The fire. His body shielding hers from falling debris. Now again. After all these years. But she was not a helpless child, no. She summoned her training. Her blade snapped open with a bright hum. She joined him in the counterattack. Energy waves clashed with steel. The corridor filled with flashes of blue and silver. Rylan fought with fierce discipline, his movements controlled, efficient, powerful. She fought beside him with speed and precision, their rhythm unspoken, yet perfectly aligned. He struck low while she struck high. He blocked attacks before they reached her. She cut down threats before they reached him. It was as if they had fought together for years. When the last rebel fell, silence returned. Smoke drifted along the walls. Guards rushed in to secure the area. The princess lowered her blade. Rylan straightened, breathing steady. She stared at him. His armor was scorched. A shallow cut traced.